In the depths of every human soul lies an ancient memory, a remembrance of our very first experience of love. Before we had words, before we could make sense of the world around us, we knew the rhythm of our mother's heartbeat, the warmth of her embrace, the sustenance of her care. This primal experience, this first dance with love and security, is the domain of the moon in astrology. Though each of us experiences this first dance with love differently, the rhythm itself is encoded in our species' memory. Some hear it as a gentle lullaby, others as a desperate cry, but all of us carry this primal melody within our souls. This universal pattern, unique in its expression, yet common in its essence, shapes our deepest understanding of what it means to be held in love's embrace. The moon speaks to us through the language of water, from the sacred waters of the womb, where we first floated in perfect trust, to the tears that flow when our heart breaks open, to the deep wells of emotion that surge within us in moments of profound connection. These waters carry our first memories of being held, nourished, and known. They hold the imprint of our earliest experiences of love and security, shaping how we relate to life itself. Our journey into emotional life begins in absolute vulnerability. Picture a newborn, fresh from the womb, entirely dependent on their caregiver for survival. This complete dependency shapes the deepest layers of our psyche, creating patterns that will echo throughout our entire lifetime. In those precious first moments, the newborn exists in a state of complete merger with their environment. There is no separation between self and other, between need and fulfillment. The dance between mother and infant in this first year creates the template for all future relationships. When the baby cries, they expect the world, embodied by the mother, to respond. When they feel discomfort, they anticipate relief. This call and response becomes the foundation of what psychologists call basic trust, the cornerstone upon which all emotional health is built. During these crucial months, every interaction writes itself into our emotional DNA. Each response to a cry, each gentle touch, each moment of attunement creates neural pathways that will shape how we process emotion throughout our lives. This emotional DNA interweaves with our ancestral inheritance, creating patterns that can echo through generations. Unlike physical DNA, however, these emotional patterns can be transformed through conscious awareness and healing work. Think of how a skilled mother responds to her baby's cries. She doesn't just feed or change them, she holds them, rocks them, coos softly, makes eye contact. Through these thousands of tiny interactions, the baby learns that their feelings matter, that they are seen, that their emotional experience is valid and important. This is how we develop emotional coherence, the ability to feel our feelings fully while remaining in connection with others. The mother's face becomes the infant's first mirror, reflecting back not just expressions but emotional states themselves. When she smiles in response to their smile, when she shows concern when they cry, she is teaching them about their own internal world. This mirroring becomes the foundation of emotional literacy, our ability to recognize, name, and navigate our feelings throughout life. In these early months, the baby learns another crucial skill: emotional regulation, the movement from distress to calm, from excitement to rest. A mother's regulated nervous system helps her baby's immature system find balance. Watch how she calms her crying infant. Beyond addressing physical needs, she provides a containing presence. This fundamental pattern becomes the basis for all future emotional self-regulation. Through this dance of regulation, the baby learns something profound: that emotional states are not permanent, that comfort follows distress, that connection can be maintained even through difficult feelings. The mother's calm presence during distress teaches the baby that emotions, no matter how intense, can be weathered and transformed. This early learning creates the foundation for emotional resilience throughout life. This early period holds such significance because it occurs before language, before rationalization, before our ability to explain or understand. The patterns formed during this time operate beneath conscious awareness, influencing every relationship, every emotional response, every adaptation to life's challenges. They become our default settings for responding to stress, intimacy, need, and vulnerability. These pre-verbal patterns shape our emotional life with particular power because they form before we can think about them consciously. They become the invisible lens through which we view all later emotional experiences. Our earliest experiences of being held, comforted, seen, and understood, or not, create the template through which we interpret all future emotional connections. We live in a time when this primal connection has been challenged by modern life's demands. Many mothers are separated from their babies too soon, forced to return to work before the emotional bonds are fully formed. Understanding the moon's wisdom helps us recognize what we've lost and what we must reclaim, not just for individual healing, but for the healing of our collective relationship with the nurturing principle itself. This modern disruption of early bonding creates particular challenges for emotional development. When early attachment is interrupted or complicated by external demands, both mother and baby must adapt in ways that may compromise optimal emotional development. Yet understanding these patterns gives us the key to their healing. In its natural state, our lunar nature is like a clear mountain stream, fluid, responsive, and life-giving. It knows when to flow gently and when to surge forward with power. It knows how to find its way around obstacles, how to carve new paths when old ones are blocked. This is emotional intelligence in its purest form, not something learned from books, but a deep instinctual knowing of how to move with life's currents. Yet, for many of us, early experiences have muddied these waters. Perhaps we learned that it wasn't safe to feel deeply, that our needs would go unmet, that we had to become small or rigid to survive. These early imprints, these wounds to our lunar nature, create what astrologers call afflicted states of the moon, times when our emotional waters become frozen in fear, turbulent with unprocessed pain, or stagnant with unexpressed feelings. Understanding these states, these avasthas of the moon, becomes crucial not just for psychological healing, but for reclaiming our birthright of emotional fluidity and adaptability. For in the end, the moon speaks to us of our capacity to mother ourselves, to create internal safety, regardless of external circumstances, to find our way back to that original state of trust in life's fundamental goodness. When emotional development unfolds optimally, several distinct patterns emerge, each contributing to a robust emotional foundation. These patterns represent not just individual development, but archetypal ways humans have evolved to nurture and support emotional growth across generations. Each beneficial state creates a specific aspect of emotional health, building together into a complete foundation for emotional well-being. A mother possessing innate wisdom about her child's needs exemplifies the proud moon. This wisdom flows from the deep well of evolutionary knowledge, manifesting as an unshakable attunement between mother and infant. She instinctively knows when her baby needs close holding and when they need space to explore, reading subtle cues in their face, movements, and cries. This mother creates a holding environment, both physical and emotional containment, allowing secure growth. She understands when her baby needs to struggle slightly to develop strength, never letting them struggle beyond their capacity. Like Earth itself, she provides both support and resistance, developing emotional muscles that will serve throughout life. Under these conditions, the infant develops emotional sovereignty. They learn that feelings move like weather patterns, and their unshakable internal anchor allows them to weather any emotional storm. This resilience carries ancestral wisdom, the inherited knowing that we can survive and thrive through life's inevitable cycles. Jupiter's delight manifests as the most expansive expression of maternal love. Here we see a mother whose joy in caregiving radiates from her very being, meeting each cry with enthusiasm, celebrating each smile, greeting each milestone with genuine delight. This creates basic trust, the unshakable sense that life is good and one's presence brings joy to others. This mother provides care that is deeply authentic and consistently loving. Her natural optimism transmits through thousands of daily interactions, teaching her baby that the world is fundamentally benevolent. This optimism stems not from naivety, but from profound trust in life's goodness, capable of withstanding inevitable disappointments. The infant raised under Jupiter's delight develops an innate sense of abundance, emotional, physical, and spiritual. They grow up knowing in their bones that there will always be enough love, enough care, enough support. This becomes the foundation for generosity of spirit and emotional expansiveness in adult life. Mercury's delight brings consciousness to the sacred art of caregiving. A mother under this influence understands that every interaction with her infant forms a dialogue deeper than words. She attunes precisely to her baby's unique communication style, creating an increasingly sophisticated dance of mutual understanding as the months progress. This dialogue forms the foundation for all future learning and emotional expression. Through marked mirroring, she reflects her baby's emotional states in a way that helps them recognize their own feelings. When her baby experiences distress, she demonstrates understanding while maintaining her own calm presence, teaching them that emotions can be both fully felt and contained. This reflection develops into interoception, the sophisticated ability to sense, understand, and respond to internal states. The infant blessed with Mercury's influence develops exceptional emotional intelligence. Their feelings become meaningful signposts, their experiences transform into wisdom, their emotional responses carry innate intelligence. Beyond individual understanding, they develop sophisticated emotional schemas that help them navigate the complex waters of human relationships. This combination creates deep emotional articulation, the ability to recognize, name, and express emotional states with precision and clarity. Like a skilled translator, these individuals can bridge the gap between feeling and understanding, helping others navigate their own emotional landscapes. This gift becomes particularly precious in our modern world, where emotional intelligence proves crucial for personal and professional success. The Sun's delight creates perhaps the most profound mother-child bond, where consciousness meets instinct in perfect harmony. This mother sees and celebrates her child's pure essence, their unique way of being. Her witnessing transcends mere approval. It becomes a sacred act affirming the child's inherent right to exist exactly as they are. Through optimal mirroring, she reflects not just what her child does, but who they are at their deepest level. Her face illuminates with genuine joy at her baby's spontaneous expressions, teaching them that their natural way of being carries inherent worth. This recognition penetrates to the child's divine nature, acknowledging their unique soul signature. Under the Sun's beneficial influence, the infant learns the most fundamental truth, that they can be fully themselves and still be deeply loved. They develop authentic selfhood, maintaining unwavering connection to their inner truth even in challenging circumstances. This creates profound alignment between inner nature and outer expression, where emotional fulfillment serves the higher purpose of self-actualization. These beneficial moon states, working together, create an emotional paradise, not because there are no challenges, but because challenges are met with such deep understanding, such consistent love, such natural wisdom that they become opportunities for growth rather than sources of trauma. The infant blessed with these moon states develops an emotional foundation that will serve them throughout life, enabling them to form deep connections, maintain emotional balance, and find their unique way of being in the world. This template of healthy emotional development shows us not just what could have been, but what can still be through conscious healing work. For in understanding these optimal states, we glimpse not just individual potential, but the evolutionary possibility for human emotional development as a whole. The patterns established in early development through beneficial moon states create distinct signatures in adult emotional life. Understanding how these patterns manifest in adulthood helps us recognize both our innate gifts and the potential we can develop through conscious work with our moon nature. Adults blessed with the proud moon's influence carry an unshakable sense of emotional sovereignty into all of life's experiences. They naturally understand that feelings are temporary states to be moved through rather than permanent conditions to be feared. When challenges arise, they instinctively know how to nurture themselves, how to seek appropriate support, and how to maintain their center while adapting to change. This emotional sovereignty manifests as a deep trust in their own emotional responses. When they feel joy, they can fully embrace it without fearing its loss. When sorrow arrives, they know how to hold themselves through it without becoming overwhelmed. Their emotional resilience doesn't mean absence of pain, but rather a profound capacity to move through emotional states while maintaining their sense of self. In relationships, those with the proud moon's influence naturally create secure attachments. They can remain emotionally present during conflicts, maintain boundaries without becoming rigid, and offer support without losing themselves in others' needs. Their early experience of optimal attunement allows them to both give and receive emotional nourishment with ease. The adult carrying Jupiter's beneficial influence maintains an innate sense of emotional abundance that colors all their experiences. They naturally trust in life's benevolence, not from naive optimism, but from a deep inner knowing that they can handle whatever comes their way. This creates a particular kind of emotional generosity. They can offer support to others because they trust in the replenishment of their own emotional resources. Their emotional expression carries a natural expansiveness. Joy flows freely, gratitude comes easily, and even in difficult times, they maintain access to a sense of life's underlying goodness. This doesn't mean they never struggle, but rather that they maintain perspective even in challenging circumstances, trusting in the larger patterns of growth and renewal. In professional and social spheres, these individuals often become natural nurturers and leaders. Their innate sense of emotional abundance allows them to create environments where others feel safe to grow and express themselves. They naturally understand that emotional well-being multiplies when shared, creating ripples of positive influence in their communities. Adults who received Mercury's beneficial influence in early development possess a remarkable capacity for emotional intelligence that continues to deepen throughout life. Their emotional awareness manifests as a sophisticated ability to navigate both their own feelings and those of others with precision and grace. These individuals maintain an ongoing inner dialogue with their emotional states. They naturally recognize subtle variations in their feelings, understanding the difference between, for example, anxiety that signals a need for rest versus anxiety that warns of genuine danger. This refined emotional self-awareness allows them to respond appropriately to their emotional needs, rather than merely reacting to surface feelings. In communication, they excel at bridging the gap between emotion and expression. When others struggle to articulate feelings, these individuals can often help name and clarify emotional experiences. Their early experience of precise emotional mirroring enables them to serve as emotional translators, helping others understand and process their own emotional landscapes. Professional life often benefits from this emotional literacy. Whether in leadership, counseling, or creative pursuits, these individuals bring a rare combination of emotional depth and clear understanding to their work. They can read the emotional undercurrents in any situation while maintaining enough emotional clarity to respond effectively. Relationships particularly flourish under Mercury's influence. These adults can engage in emotional intimacy while maintaining healthy boundaries. They understand that emotional communication requires both speaking and listening with the heart. Their partnerships often feature deep emotional understanding alongside practical problem-solving skills. Those blessed with the sun's delight in early development carry a profound sense of authentic selfhood into adulthood. Their emotional expression flows naturally from their core being rather than adapting to external expectations. This authenticity creates a particular kind of charisma, not based on performance, but on the genuine expression of their inner nature. In their professional lives, these individuals often find ways to align their work with their authentic calling. They naturally understand the difference between external success and true fulfillment. This alignment between inner truth and outer expression allows them to contribute their unique gifts to the world without compromising their essential nature. Their relationships carry a quality of deep recognition. They see others in their essence just as they were seen in infancy. This capacity for true witnessing makes them valuable friends and partners. They can honor others' authentic expression while maintaining their own truth, creating relationships based on mutual recognition rather than mere attachment or need. In challenging times, these adults maintain connection to their inner light, even when external circumstances become difficult. Their emotional resilience stems not from techniques or strategies, but from unwavering connection to their authentic self. This allows them to weather life's storms without losing their essential nature. Their presence in groups often catalyzes others' authentic expression. Just as their mothers created space for their true nature to emerge, they naturally create environments where others feel safe to be themselves. This gift for nurturing authenticity makes them valuable in any setting where personal growth and genuine expression matter. When multiple beneficial moon states work together in an adult's chart, they create a symphony of emotional well-being more profound than any single influence could provide. Understanding how these states interact helps us appreciate the full potential of healthy emotional development. When the proud moon's emotional sovereignty combines with Jupiter's sense of abundance, we see individuals who not only trust their emotional nature, but delight in its expression. Their emotional resilience gains an expansive quality. They don't just weather emotional storms, they find the hidden gifts within challenges. This combination creates natural emotional leaders who can both contain their own feelings and create spaces where others feel safe to explore emotional depths. In relationships, this combination manifests as generous emotional presence. These individuals offer emotional support not from duty, but from genuine pleasure in nurturing growth. They understand how to maintain healthy boundaries while remaining emotionally abundant, never depleting themselves through giving, because they trust in continuous emotional replenishment. When Mercury's gift for emotional understanding joins with the proud moon's sovereignty, emotional intelligence reaches new depths. These individuals don't just feel their emotions clearly, they understand the subtle messages within each emotional state. Their emotional resilience gains precision. They know exactly when to lean into a feeling and when to let it pass, when to explore an emotion's roots and when to focus on its present message. This combination excels in emotional mentorship. These adults can both model healthy emotional presence and articulate the principles underlying emotional well-being. They often become gifted therapists, teachers, or guides, helping others navigate their own emotional waters with both wisdom and sovereignty. When the sun's authentic presence combines with Jupiter's natural optimism, we find individuals whose genuine self-expression carries an infectious joy. Their authenticity naturally expands to create spaces where others feel inspired to express their own truth. This combination often manifests in creative or spiritual leadership where personal truth and universal wisdom flow together. These adults understand that emotional abundance isn't just about feeling good, it's about being true to one's nature while embracing life's full spectrum of experiences. Their optimism stems from genuine self-knowledge rather than mere positivity, creating a deeply authentic form of emotional generosity. The combination of Mercury's emotional intelligence and the sun's capacity for true recognition creates individuals with remarkable ability to bridge inner truth with outer expression. They not only understand emotional patterns with precision, but can articulate authentic experience in ways that illuminate paths for others. In professional settings, this combination often leads to innovative approaches in psychology, education, or the arts. These people can both perceive emotional truth and communicate it in ways that awaken authentic understanding in others. Their guidance helps others align emotional awareness with genuine self-expression. Our journey now leads us into the shadowed waters of emotional wounding, the challenging moon states that arise when early development faces disruption or trauma. These afflictions to our emotional nature create distinct patterns that, unless consciously addressed, can echo throughout our lifetime. Among these challenging states, Saturn creates the most severe afflictions to the moon, manifesting through both starvation and shame. To understand these wounds is to begin understanding our deepest emotional pain and its potential transformation. Saturn starving the moon represents one of the most severe emotional deprivations possible in a birth chart. Like a garden denied water until its soil becomes hard and cracked, the infant experiences such profound lack of emotional nourishment that their very capacity to receive nurturing becomes impaired. This creates deep patterns of insecurity and isolation that persist long after the original deprivation has ended. The emotional body, like a body subjected to severe malnutrition, loses its ability to absorb nourishment even when it later becomes available. This creates a particular form of emotional freezing, a rigidity that develops not from choice but from the sheer necessity of survival. The person's emotional needs don't disappear beneath this frozen surface. Instead, they become deeply buried under layers of protective numbness, like a river continuing to flow beneath a sheet of ice. In adult life, those carrying Saturn's starvation move through the world with a pervasive sense of emotional scarcity. They find themselves constantly trying to prove their right to exist, as if life itself was a privilege they must earn, rather than their birthright. Every emotional need carries an undertone of doubt. Is this legitimate? Do I have the right to feel this? Will meeting this need somehow deplete a limited supply of emotional sustenance? The emotional muscles that should have developed naturally in infancy remain underdeveloped, creating patterns of rigidity or collapse when facing emotional challenges. Like a plant that learned to survive with minimal water, these individuals develop coping mechanisms that prioritize survival over growth. They might excel at enduring emotional hardship, but struggle to flourish in conditions of emotional abundance. When Saturn adds shame to starvation, the wound becomes more complex and penetrating. Beyond simply lacking emotional nourishment, the person develops a deep conviction that their needs themselves are fundamentally wrong. This creates an excruciating double bind. They experience desperate hunger for emotional connection while feeling deeply ashamed of this very hunger. When Rahu joins Saturn in afflicting the moon, the person develops extreme methods of escaping their overwhelming emotional pain. Like a drowning person who will grasp at anything that floats, these individuals often become workaholics, seeking achievement as a substitute for emotional fulfillment. The drive for external success becomes a way to prove their worth to a world that feels fundamentally withholding. The combination frequently leads to addictive patterns. Unable to bear the profound pain of emotional deprivation and shame, they might use substances, experiences, or constant activity to numb themselves. On the surface, they often appear highly successful. They might build empires, achieve remarkable goals, or accumulate significant wealth. Yet beneath this impressive exterior lie deep emotional wounds that manifest as chronic anxiety, persistent depression, or a gnawing sense that nothing is ever enough. Rahu's influence adds a particular kind of emotional hunger to Saturn's deprivation, an insatiable craving that no external achievement can satisfy. Each success, rather than bringing fulfillment, only underscores the deep emotional void within. The person might move from accomplishment to accomplishment, relationship to relationship, forever seeking but never finding the emotional nourishment they desperately need. Ketu's presence with Saturn creates perhaps the most difficult pattern to heal, one where emotional pain becomes so deeply internalized that it disappears from conscious awareness. These individuals often experience what we might describe as emotional collapse in private while maintaining a composed exterior in public. The pain runs so deep that they may lose conscious access to it entirely, experiencing it instead as a pervasive sense of emptiness or fundamental disconnection from life itself. This combination creates the deepest form of emotional exile, a state where one becomes a stranger to their own emotional nature. The person might intellectually understand their emotional patterns but feel completely unable to access or process their feelings directly. Like a landscape buried under centuries of ice, their emotional world becomes almost archaeological, present but inaccessible without extensive and careful excavation. In men, Saturn's affliction to the moon often manifests as emotional coldness or complete shutdown. They might become highly successful in practical matters while remaining fundamentally disconnected from their emotional nature. This split between achievement and emotional awareness creates a profound sense of internal isolation, successful in the world but strangers to their own hearts. Women with this affliction often experience a deeper form of suffering, as the moon specifically governs feminine emotional patterns. They might find themselves consistently drawn to situations of emotional deprivation, unconsciously recreating their early patterns of starvation and shame. Their attempts to heal often get thwarted by deep patterns of unworthiness and emotional self-sabotage. The wound becomes particularly painful as it affects not only their personal emotional life, but their capacity to nurture others, a double bind that can create profound suffering. The patterns of emotional starvation and shame create distinctive challenges in adult relationships. These manifest as a profound paradox, an aching need for deep connection coupled with an almost insurmountable fear of receiving it. Like someone who has been stranded in an emotional desert, the person both desperately craves nourishment and has forgotten how to drink. In intimate relationships, those carrying Saturn's wound often find themselves unable to receive love even when it's freely offered. They might choose partners who are emotionally available and genuinely caring, yet still experience themselves as fundamentally alone and unnourished. Both starvation and shame create a pattern where emotional nourishment feels simultaneously essential and forbidden. They might push away genuine care, convinced they don't deserve it, while simultaneously feeling desperate for connection. The emotional pain typically remains hidden from view, but present as a pattern of private suffering that affects all relationships. These people frequently experience emotional breakdowns when alone, yet maintain a composed, even rigid exterior in public. The shame runs so deep that they resist processing these emotions even with trusted partners, leading to cycles of overwhelming emotional flooding, followed by renewed suppression and withdrawal. In daily life, Saturn's wound manifests as a particular kind of emotional vigilance. Those carrying this pattern often move through their days with an underlying tension, as if constantly bracing for emotional deprivation or rejection. Simple interactions that others might find nourishing, a friend's warm greeting, a colleague's appreciation, a child's spontaneous affection, may be difficult to absorb or trust. The emotional constriction creates specific patterns in work and creative endeavors. These people often excel in structured, practical tasks where emotional vulnerability isn't required. They might build successful careers in fields that reward emotional containment while struggling in areas that demand emotional fluidity or expressiveness. Their reliable, responsible nature becomes both a genuine strength and a compensation for deeper emotional wounds. Perhaps most painfully, Saturn's affliction to the moon tends to echo through generations unless consciously addressed. Parents carrying these wounds, despite their best intentions and often profound love for their children, may struggle to provide the emotional attunement their children need. This creates a particular kind of guilt and grief, watching themselves recreate patterns they desperately wish to transform. Women with this affliction face a unique challenge in motherhood. The moon governs not only their personal emotional nature, but their capacity to nurture the next generation. Even when intellectually understanding their children's emotional needs, they may find themselves unable to provide the consistent emotional attunement that supports secure attachment. This creates a deep ache, wanting to give what they themselves never received, yet finding themselves emotionally frozen at crucial moments. Mars shaming the moon creates a fundamentally different kind of emotional wound than Saturn's freeze. Instead of emotional deprivation, Mars creates a distortion in how emotions are processed and expressed. This affliction disrupts the natural rhythm of emotional experience, creating patterns where emotional needs must be addressed through immediate action rather than through presence and understanding. In early development, the infant learns that emotional needs must be met quickly and efficiently without the natural messiness that emotional processing requires. Instead of experiencing emotions as waves that naturally rise and fall in their own timing, they develop a pattern of rushing through emotional experiences, seeking immediate resolution rather than understanding. This creates a fundamental disruption in the capacity to simply be with feelings as they unfold. Imagine a garden where the tender plants are constantly being moved before they can take root. Similarly, these individuals never allow their emotional experiences to fully develop and integrate. The constant movement creates an illusion of emotional processing while actually preventing true emotional maturation. In adult life, this manifests as a persistent need to do something about every feeling that arises. Sadness triggers immediate busyness. Loneliness leads to rushed social connections. Fear transforms into aggressive action. The underlying compulsion to act prevents the natural processing of emotion, creating a cycle where feelings never fully resolve because they're never fully felt. These people develop a particular type of emotional rushing, always moving quickly to the next thing, the next relationship, the next achievement, without allowing the current emotional experience to complete itself. Like someone constantly changing channels before hearing the end of any story, they miss the deeper meanings and resolutions that emotions naturally provide when fully experienced. When Rahu joins Mars in afflicting the moon, the rushing quality becomes even more pronounced and takes on an obsessive edge. These people become driven by overwhelming desires yet remain perpetually unsatisfied. Even significant achievements or connections fail to provide genuine emotional fulfillment. They pursue relationships, experiences, or accomplishments with incredible intensity, but no external achievement can fill the internal void this combination creates. Each new pursuit carries the promise of fulfillment, yet the rushing quality of Mars combined with Rahu's insatiability prevents true satisfaction from ever taking root. It's like trying to fill a basket with water while constantly moving. No matter how much is poured in, nothing can accumulate because there's never a moment of stillness. When Ketu joins Mars in shaming the moon, the pattern becomes more severe and complex. The natural drive of Mars becomes confused and hindered by Ketu's fragmenting influence. Instead of merely rushing through emotions, these individuals experience intense frustration as their attempts to fix emotional situations become scattered and ineffective. The force of Mars splinters under Ketu's influence, creating emotional energy that never fully coalesces into meaningful action. This combination creates a particularly painful pattern of emotional false starts and abandoned connections. They might begin multiple projects, relationships, or healing attempts, but struggle to maintain any of them long enough for real transformation to occur. The fragmented energy prevents the completion of emotional processes, leaving a trail of unfinished emotional business. Each new beginning carries the hope of completion, yet Ketu's fragmenting influence combined with Mars's rushing tendency creates a pattern of perpetual interruption. In men, this Mars affliction often manifests as emotional aggression, actively pushing away feelings through dominance, control, or excessive action. They might achieve remarkable success in their fields while remaining emotionally immature, unable to create or sustain deep emotional connections. Their rushing tendency disrupts the natural development of emotional capacity, leaving them skilled in doing but stunted in being. The masculine drive for action combines with emotional immaturity to create a particular kind of relational blindness. For women, the pattern often turns inward, creating a driven quality to emotional life that prevents true vulnerability. They excel in nurturing others through action while struggling to receive emotional nourishment themselves. Their capacity to give becomes a way to avoid their own emotional needs, creating a pattern of perpetual emotional depletion masked by constant activity. The feminine capacity for nurturing becomes hijacked by Mars's need for action, creating a particular kind of self-abandonment. In daily relationships, those with Mars shaming their moon create a frustrating emotional exhaustion, both in themselves and others. Their inability to stay present with emotional experiences means that relationships never develop the depth that comes from shared emotional presence. Instead, relationships become a series of actions, reactions, and solutions, missing the crucial element of simply being together in emotional truth. Work life often becomes a refuge, as constant activity provides an acceptable channel for avoiding emotional depth. These people might excel in crisis management, troubleshooting, or any situation that rewards quick action. However, they struggle in situations requiring emotional patience, deep listening, or the ability to stay present with discomfort without immediately trying to fix it. When Saturn afflicts the moon in the fifth house, it creates a unique form of suffering. The fifth house governs creativity, joy, and our capacity to express our authentic nature. When Saturn brings its freezing influence here, it particularly impacts our ability to fulfill creative and emotional responsibilities. The person develops a rigid vision that clashes with their capacity to handle practical realities of life. The fifth house affliction creates a deep pattern of creative and emotional withdrawal. The person might abandon important duties and responsibilities when they become emotionally overwhelming. This abandonment stems not from lack of care, but from an inability to adapt their vision to reality. They find themselves giving up on what matters most, particularly in areas involving emotional expression and creative fulfillment. When Saturn and Mars both affect the moon, we see a distinctly challenging pattern. The rushing quality of Mars combines with Saturn's freeze to create a stop-start motif in emotional life. The person might alternate between periods of emotional shutdown and frantic activity, never finding the natural rhythm that supports emotional health. In these cases, the emotional body faces conflicting demands. Saturn's influence pulls toward withdrawal and containment, while Mars pushes toward immediate action and resolution. This creates a deep inner conflict. Should they freeze or should they act? The resulting tension often leads to emotional exhaustion as the person struggles to find a sustainable way of being with their feelings. The addition of Rahu or Ketu to these combinations deepens the complexity. Rahu intensifies both Saturn's deprivation and Mars's rushing, creating patterns of obsessive achievement coupled with profound emotional isolation. Ketu fragments both energies, making it difficult to either fully withdraw or fully act, leaving the person in an emotional limbo. These complex combinations particularly impact feminine emotional patterns. Women carrying these multiple afflictions often find themselves torn between different emotional demands, unable to find a natural way of nurturing either themselves or others. The various influences create conflicting patterns that make emotional coherence especially challenging to achieve. Before exploring specific healing approaches, we must understand that emotional healing follows natural laws, just as the moon follows its phases. Like frozen water that must thaw gradually to prevent damage, emotional wounds require careful and patient attention. Healing doesn't mean eliminating our patterns, but rather thawing them enough to restore our natural emotional fluidity. The path from emotional starvation to sovereignty requires a comprehensive approach that honors the depth of these wounds. The process begins with creating conditions for emotional thawing, establishing an environment where frozen feelings can gradually come back to life without overwhelm. Just as rehabilitating severe physical malnourishment requires careful reintroduction of nutrients, emotional healing must proceed gently and systematically. The first stage requires stable external support, a consistent therapist, a reliable practice community, or deeply understanding friends who can provide the emotional holding that was missing in early life. This consistent presence helps rebuild trust in emotional nourishment, proving to the nervous system that support can be reliable and safe. Nature often provides the first safe space for emotional thawing. The natural world offers a holding environment that doesn't demand or judge, allowing frozen feelings to gradually soften. Sitting by water, walking in forests, or lying on the earth provides primal experiences of being held without human complexity. These experiences speak directly to the emotional body, bypassing the defensive structures built by Saturn's influence. The healing journey from shame to grace requires particular patience. The first step involves honoring the protective nature of emotional suppression, understanding that these defenses developed for survival. Gradually, as safety builds, emotions can begin to surface without judgment or pressure. For those carrying the burden of starvation or shame, healing requires addressing both the lack of nourishment and the deep conviction that needs are wrong. Healing Mars's impact requires a fundamentally different approach. Rather than thawing frozen feelings, the work involves learning to slow down and feel rather than immediately act. The first crucial step involves developing the capacity to separate emotion from action, learning to simply feel without trying to fix or change the feeling. For those accustomed to immediate action, this practice often creates intense discomfort that must be carefully contained. When Rahu intensifies Mars's restless energy, healing requires addressing both the compulsion to act and the underlying insatiability. Physical practices that combine movement with presence prove particularly effective. Slow, mindful walking, gentle martial arts, or conscious dance can help bridge the gap between action and awareness. These practices allow for movement while developing the capacity to feel and observe without immediate reaction. The development of emotional patience becomes crucial. Learning to sit with feelings, allowing them to unfold naturally without rushing to resolution, helps repair the fundamental wound of emotional turmoil. This begins with small practices. Taking 3 breaths before responding to emotional triggers, consciously slowing down during emotional conversations, allowing pauses to become as meaningful as actions. For those driven by Rahu's endless hunger combined with Mars's need for action, healing focuses on developing genuine emotional satisfaction. This involves learning to recognize and appreciate emotional fulfillment when it occurs rather than constantly seeking more intense experiences. The practice includes pausing to fully digest emotional experiences before moving to the next thing, like learning to taste and savor food rather than constantly seeking the next meal. For those carrying Ketu's fragmentation with Mars, establishing emotional continuity becomes essential. This involves developing the capacity to stay with one emotional process long enough to see it through, rather than fragmenting attention across multiple situations. Regular practices of emotional check-in help develop this continuity. The healing path requires gathering the scattered pieces of emotional energy and learning to direct them coherently. This often begins with very simple practices: completing one small emotional task before beginning another, staying with one feeling until it naturally shifts, developing the capacity to maintain emotional focus even when the urge to scatter arises. When both Saturn's freeze and Mars's rush affect the Moon, healing requires a particularly nuanced approach. The process involves learning to recognize which pattern is active at any moment. Are we frozen or are we rushing? This awareness allows for appropriate response: thawing practices when frozen, slowing practices when rushing. Working with the body becomes essential as these complex patterns create deep physical holding. Different somatic approaches serve different aspects of healing. Saturn's constriction needs gentle, patient bodywork that slowly releases frozen tissue. Mars's rushing tendency requires practices that combine movement with conscious awareness. The body becomes both the indicator of which pattern is active and the vehicle for transformation. Touch, when appropriate and carefully introduced, plays a vital role in healing these complex patterns. Self-touch practices help rebuild trust in physical sensation. Professional bodywork with practitioners who understand emotional trauma can support the release of deeply held patterns while respecting the timing each type of wound requires. Through conscious work with moon patterns, we develop what every infant deserves: a secure emotional foundation that allows full engagement with life. Our emotional nature, regardless of early wounds, contains within it the seeds of its own healing. Like a plant turning toward light, our emotional body naturally orients toward wholeness when given proper support. Last but not least, the healing journey transforms not only our individual emotional patterns but contributes to collective healing. As we restore our own capacity for emotional presence, we become better able to provide emotional holding for others. The adult who has worked through Saturn's freeze can offer genuine warmth to those still caught in emotional winter. One who has transformed Mars's rushing tendency can teach others the art of emotional patience. Each small step in emotional healing creates ripples far beyond our personal sphere. Every moment of staying present with difficult feelings, every choice to respond consciously rather than react automatically, helps restore humanity's emotional intelligence. For we heal not just for ourselves, but for all who come after us, gradually transforming the emotional legacy we pass to future generations. This work participates in the evolution of human emotional capacity. As more individuals heal their moon wounds, we collectively develop new patterns of emotional relating. The mother who heals her Saturn wounds creates the possibility of secure attachment for her children. The father who transforms Mars's aggression offers his sons a new model of emotional masculinity. We stand at a crucial point in human emotional development. Modern life challenges our innate capacity for emotional attunement, yet simultaneously offers unprecedented opportunities for conscious emotional evolution. Understanding the moon's states helps us recognize both what we've lost and what we must reclaim, not just for individual healing, but for the healing of our collective relationship with the nurturing principle itself. Remember, your emotional nature isn't a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived, a dance to be danced, a song to be sung. In embracing this journey of healing, you join countless others working to restore the sacred waters of the heart. Together, we remember what it means to be fully human, fully feeling, fully alive. Through conscious emotional work, we participate in a sacred task, restoring humanity's capacity for deep feeling, authentic connection, and natural emotional wisdom. Each healed heart becomes a vessel for this transformation, each moment of emotional presence a step toward collective wholeness. Having explored the depths of emotional patterning and the possibilities for transformation, you may feel called to begin or deepen your own healing journey. As an experienced counselor specializing in emotional healing through the lens of lunar wisdom, I offer specialized support for those working with challenging moon patterns. My approach integrates deep understanding of both psychological principles and astrological wisdom, creating a unique container for emotional healing. Whether you're carrying Saturn's freeze, Mars's frustrated tendency, or complex combinations of moon afflictions, I provide a safe space where these patterns can gradually transform. Our work together begins where you are. If you're experiencing deep patterns of emotional shutdown or isolation, difficulty receiving nurturing even when it's available, a persistent sense of rushing through emotional experiences, or complex emotional patterns that haven't yielded to other approaches, and a desire to transform inherited emotional patterns, I offer a holding environment where these challenges can be explored and transformed with patience and wisdom. Through our work together, you'll develop a greater capacity to feel and process emotions, skills for managing challenging emotional states, a deeper understanding of your emotional patterns, practical tools for ongoing emotional regulation, and an increased ability to receive emotional nourishment. Our sessions will provide a consistent space for emotional exploration and healing. I combine deep emotional attunement with practical guidance, helping you navigate the territory of emotional healing with both compassion and clarity. Working with me, you'll find both understanding of your patterns and concrete paths toward transformation. If you feel ready to explore your emotional healing more deeply, I invite you to reach out. Each person's journey unfolds in its own timing, and I honor wherever you are in your process. Together, we can create a path toward greater emotional wholeness that respects your unique nature and needs. Through gentle exploration and proven therapeutic approaches, we can work together to restore your natural emotional flow and develop lasting emotional resilience. Whether you're just beginning to explore these patterns or have been on this path for years, skillful guidance can illuminate the way forward. As we conclude our exploration of the moon's sacred waters, remember that your emotional journey is unique and precious. Just as the moon moves through its phases with unfailing rhythm, your path toward emotional wholeness will unfold in its own perfect timing. The very recognition of your patterns is already the beginning of their transformation. Whether you carry the deep freeze of Saturn, the restless rush of Mars, or other emotional imprints, know that healing is not just possible, it is your birthright. If you feel called to explore these waters more deeply, I'm here to support your journey. Together, we can work with your unique emotional patterns, helping them transform from wounds into sources of wisdom and strength. May you move forward with gentle courage, knowing that every step toward emotional wholeness contributes not only to your own healing, but to the healing of our collective heart. Thank you for watching. Please consider sharing this video and subscribing to my channel. This is Ayla, signing off.